Right,
Hi, I'm Lee Newson, Head of Field Sales at Motors. I've been with the company for just over a year and look after our mid-market and enterprise clients. Previously, I've worked in various other marketplaces, so I was at Zoopla for 4 years, Amazon for a handful of years. So I'm kind of winging it today when it comes to the automotive industry. So we've got some experts on stage with us though.
Thank you.
Morning everybody, my name's Kevin Cartwright. I'm the Group General Manager at Ford's Winsford FLW Car Supermarket. Prior to that, I've just stayed within the car supermarket spectrum for about 25 years, and that includes Motorpoint, Carcraft and the Car Group, which was National Car Supermarket.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Farhad Tailor, CEO and founder of V12 Sports and Classics. Busy used car supermarket group selling about 1,300 used vehicles per month.
Hi, I'm Stuart Leatherbarrow. I'm Head of Strategy and Client Experience at Chorley Group, family-owned, multi-franchise business up in the northwest of England.
Thanks very much. Now I'll call on you as time is, at appropriate moments, if that's okay.
Perfect.
But I'll start with the first question. Obviously, stocking is one of the toughest challenges in the used market. How do each of you ensure you have the right stock mix and manage the capital flow, capital efficiency when vehicle supply is typically unpredictable? So, would you like to start? I'll come to you in a moment.
Thank you. In terms of the stock mix currently, I think the first key comment is most people, and certainly ourselves inclusive, have had to go much deeper into the car park. Our business used to be a 0 to 3 year old specialist business. Quick turnaround, quick preparation. We're currently in a 0 to 10 year cycle, which is bringing its own challenges, not least of which is we have had to massively step up in terms of technician recruitment and the number of technicians within our business, because we've currently got 4 full workshops operational at Winsford plus 1 at Trafford, and we probably have doubled our mechanic resource within the last sort of 2 years to put up with that and to cope with that, purely because we're getting into so many heavier jobs.
Thank you. Farhad?
Stock mix, to be fair, we've not really struggled. We've not found any challenges in sourcing stock. We've got a big buying team consisting of about 8 buyers. So we do hunt very, very deeply across lots of platforms. I'm also a shareholder of a aggregator site called orca.com, which we're very, very excited about, where we've aggregated a lot of wholesale platforms onto one platform. So we're looking at a very wide market and digging very deep to find the right level of stock and the stock mix that we need to sell a lot of vehicles each month.
On used cars, it's challenging, especially for franchise retailers where new cars isn't where it needs to be, so we're not generating the part exchanges that we would typically rely upon. So we're having to fill those gaps by going to market to source vehicles. So where we can source directly with vendors, the better, so that keeps the cost down. But we take a data-driven approach to what we should buy for stock. We follow the metrics from the likes of Auto Trader and try and hunt out those opportunities as best we can.
Lee, do you want to give a sort of helicopter view, excuse the expression?
I was going to say, we don't really touch too much on that side of things. However, our recent consumer insights panel, it's still well over 50% of all consumers actually plan to sell to a dealer. So the more you can do to really push those Part X's, the better, I think, in general.
What's your consumer insights panel? What is it?
So we do a survey twice yearly, basically, of all the consumers on various things, whether it be EV, what the main concerns are, just so we can help inform our dealers.
Okay. What are your views, and I'll start with you as well, Lee, if that's okay. What are your views on where consumer confidence is right now? Where does it actually stand in the market?
Just in general, or?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, consumer confidence, both perhaps if we split it down the middle a little bit, like petrol, diesel, then EV. So is there differing trends, perceptions?
Looking at it, I think roughly 1 in 4 plan to have their next vehicle be electric. You're looking about 30% with hybrids.
Has that shifted at all?
That's shifted over the last, certainly over the last year, and quite considerably over the last 2 years. So you'd see diesel obviously right at the bottom of the rank, around 10% now plan on looking at a diesel. So
And what was that, say, year on year?
you'd be looking at petrol diesel was probably about 60-70% of the market then. But what you'll see is as infrastructure improves, battery life concerns are probably not as much of an issue as they were before, and people are just generally getting a little bit more informed about it. Where I had my first electric car 4 or 5 years ago, and like range anxiety and things like that were a quite real thing. But now obviously we're seeing much larger ranges. That's kind of doing away with that.
Yeah. That's the intention.
Yeah.
Does it actually translate?
So if you look at what they're in at the moment, there's a big shift. So you're looking probably 7 to 10% at the moment in electric, but planning their next car, that's jumped up to 25%, which is a fairly big shift.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
In terms of consumer sentiment, really good. We basically got our site at Winsford, which is on about 18 or 20 repeat cycles, which is pretty strange. Manchester Trafford obviously gives us a lot more flavour of what's actually happening in the market, because Winsford is kind of contained in its own bubble. I in terms of sort of penetrations, are still 85 to sort of 87% of everything that we're selling at both sites, which is of interest. The beauty of this year has seen the first time where we've seen a really respectable migration onto used EV once they've started to get price sensitive to the point where for the first time now, used EV is probably cheaper than a traditional ICE comparable vehicle, whereas even a year ago, completely flipped upside down. So you're starting to see some product now that's on 70, 72, 73% depreciation cycle after 3 to 4 years of age, which is making it rudely affordable. We have just invested massively on infrastructure whilst we've been training. So as an example, we've just put 14 23 kilowatt chargers in at Winsford and Trafford. And from a customer confidence perspective, battery health and a fully charged vehicle, once we're actually showing it to the customer, is really sort of night and day. We used to sort of show customers cars with relatively scabby battery chargers in truth, because we just didn't see the importance of it. And we worked on the premise that most people have done the homework, but we pretty much don't stock a car now that's not 90% or better in terms of its battery health. And if it's 80% charged or better, we just find that the customers sort of talk a hell of a lot quicker to us in terms of what we're doing.
I mean, we've seen a very stable market this year. We stimulate the market well with our pricing strategy. We do price very, very competitively on Auto Trader for like vehicles. We also offer a lot of USPs to our customers. All our vehicles are AA inspected, so that gives the customers a huge level of confidence. We're on key with our advertising, our imagery. We've just gone live with some different parts in our business using AI. So that helps us with the retail numbers that we want to deliver each month. Again, the same with EV. We've got some great calculators on our website giving customers the information that they need to make those decisions. Prices are very affordable. The technology of the vehicles are great. So yeah, there's a huge demand for that EV product. We've just launched battery certification on all our EVs as well, displaying that on all our adverts. So again, giving the customer the confidence and the peace of mind that they require on making those purchases.
Yeah, I think consumer confidence, there is a lot of uncertainty at the moment, so I think consumers are a lot more value minded. They're looking for that price point, they're very sensitive about that. But it's not just on price, it's the product, who you're dealing with. So we focus very much on trying to deliver the best possible experience we can to instill that confidence that it's the right decision. There's not a lack of demand in the market as such. It's just that affordability and trust in the product. And and on the EV side, it's pretty much our role still today is educating the client rather than trying to sell to them. It's taking them on that journey. Even more so on hybrid as well, not just EV. It's for a lot of people that is a big shift to go from a conventional petrol diesel car to a semi battery powered vehicle. So there's still that transition in the market that we're going through. But
Kevin, just to pick on you for a moment, you reported record half year Profits? Yeah. Best for 66 years. What do you put that down to?
Within our business, we've seen quite significant change. The third generation of the Ford family now are our lead buyers, and they come with that wonderful exuberance of youth and want to conquer the world, which is, it goes back to what you've just said. Our lead buyers are the family. There's nobody more invested in the product than the family, and the family basically is the lead buyers, just continue to give us a really good product. I think we've got quite a nice dynamic. Mr. Paul Ford, our owner, pretty much knows everybody, and I mean everybody. As I say, John and Ed are the powerhouses behind the buy-in, and then we've put together a really strong car supermarket management group where we've basically gone out and tried to poach top talent because, I think the car supermarket sector is different. You can't put people from a main agent background into a car supermarket because there's so few profit centres. And I think we've set up 3 key tenets to how we go about doing our business, which is based around quoting, a sales process with bags of personality on top, and then a symbiotic relationship between the sales and the sales management rather than timeshare at the back end of a bad presentation, and it seems to come together.
One of the quotes that we picked up on the story on this, that's got the news that you reported, was ethical profits. What does that mean?
FOW is conservative with a small c and potentially slightly old-fashioned, but that's exactly what we want it to be. We would rather somebody walk and enjoy the experience than buy and then feel that they haven't made the right decision, because we do generally have this really strange dynamic where you can get 4 generations of the same family walking into especially Winsford site, and they almost treat it as a day out and do whatever that goes with it. So all we're saying there is that it's not a computer says no mentality. There's a human element in pretty much everything we do. The tools that come from the auto traders and other sort of places are fantastic, but sometimes you do also have to be a bit contrarian and try and move against that particular side of it, because I sign off routinely warranty claims, problems from customers and stuff that I wouldn't have signed off in a million years within a PLC environment, mainly because ultimately it's the right decision for long-term benefit.
Yeah. Farhad and Stuart, does that resonate with you as well in your business?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you've got that independent touch to the customer journey that these big PLCs can't offer.
Yeah, we try and so something we've worked really hard on this last year is being in a position where we can offer customers same-day drive away, which is more replicable of an independent experience. As you're an independent, you're a lot more agile, you can move faster. So that's been really challenging, but the whole business has come together to make that a reality. So at any one time now, 80% of our stock can be bought and taken on the same day, just so we can react to that client experience again and try and offer something different. I know it's quite commonplace in supermarkets, that kind of approach, but in franchise world, we feel that's kind of unique.
Do you, and this is to everyone, do you expect to see more competition between independents and franchise dealers for older stock? And maybe a separate question to that, does rising EV sales increase this focus too? Building a larger park of older vehicles to increase the diesel petrol throughput for workshop and after-sales departments? Let's start that one.
Yeah, I think there's that many data points that everyone's embracing the same data points across the various platforms, Auto Trader being the biggest one. So I think, the competition between supermarkets and franchises is probably already there. We're all looking at the same price position, so that competition is already there between franchises and supermarkets.
I think it's challenging for a lot of franchise dealers to compete on the older stock from a prep quality standards and the cost of prep. You find on them older vehicles it can get a bit uneconomically viable to go on with that. So we try and focus on what we know we're good at. But on the question of the EV bit, again, because we're further up the track, if you like, from selling them as new cars, we've got a lot more skin in the game. We understand it better, so we're actually not worried about that becoming the norm as such. We see that as an advantage for ourselves.
From our perspective, are we in direct competition? Probably not, because ultimately we're prepared to sell for a smaller margin than a main agent traditionally would want to or be able to. In terms of the EV aspect of it, I think, again, there will be more natural competition, but certainly when we go to auction, there is still more supply than full take-up, unless it's on really desirable type of things. And the beauty of the year for us as a business is a chunk of our main agent cousins, especially the bigger ones, have migrated away from our sector. And they tend to do it on like a 5 or 10 year cycle. It's like somebody sits in a room and goes, yes, you have another go. And it's something I alluded to before, which is you need a certain type of person and a certain type of management group to actually thrive in that environment. It's not something that's just let's get all the part exchanges and pop them on a big site and see what happens, because the biggest enemy of our part of the sector is depreciation.
Lee, do you want to?
Yeah, so I was going to say, at the moment, probably the only part of the market that are not really competing as aggressively in the EV sector are the smaller independents, just because of the shift that you need to actually stock them. You've not got the same sort of technicians on site to deal with that. So it is generally across pretty much the supermarkets and franchises for that second bite of the cherry. So currently we don't see stock being as a massive issue getting in the EV sector. But you're right with the older car. Like, obviously you look at consumers are going probably 2 years older than they were prior because of the cost of living and everything else that's driven over.
Do you think the budget will further affect that?
I think so.
Scaremongering, maybe it's real.
Without guessing, but I'd say I'd probably bet the house on it.
Are you all concerned, conscious of what will happen in the budget on people's sort of spending ability, savings, salary sacrifice is one that I've heard that could be impacted? How seriously do you take it? Do you kind of, is there a sort of post-budget strategy? Do you go that far?
We're going to have to wait, but it doesn't sound like it's going to be amazingly good. The one thing I would say is, it's like, I think if you feel incredibly flush and you want to buy a BMW today, your natural instinct is to find the BMW dealership. I think our part of the sector kind of thrives in recessionary environments. And we have already responded. We're in a 0 to 10 sort of part of the car park, and we've invested in the technicians to be able to prep those to a standard. They come with a separate risk, but you used to be able to sell 1 and 2 year old cars for under £10,000. Right. And obviously the thing about it now is you're not getting anywhere close to that to a significantly different registration plate.
I think you can waste a lot of energy trying to second guess what might happen in the budget. I think let's see what happens and we'll make decisions after that and adapt and see where it takes us. I think it's a will they won't they budget for me, so see where it goes. Totally agree. Control the controllables and see what happens. That's all you can do.
Is it the case, Lee, I did read this somewhere, it could have been the consumer press, or it could have been yourself, that a car purchase is ring-fenced within a family or people's kind of spending consideration, no matter what? It is one of those things that will just get bought.
Yeah, well, it's a necessity generally for most families. And certainly when you're looking at that part of the market, if you're looking at your 35s generally to 40s, which obviously is the main sort of late 40s is the main sort of target group for families. It is something that you plan, I guess, every 3 to 5 years, depending on your budget.
Some stats of yours that October was a high for stock for the year.
Yeah.
2025. But time to sell only rose ever so slightly. So what's the dynamics behind that?
To be fair, it's hard to say. So generally we'll see the normal seasonality, so we know that everybody tends to stock up prior to Christmas. And it sort of ramps until you get to December. We tend to see summer, obviously everyone runs a little bit lighter generally. But yeah, time to sale hasn't really shifted. And it's hard to say where that's sort of getting clogged up in the process.
Independent dealers, I'm seeing here more success in terms of used car volumes more generally across the market compared with franchise dealers. What do you see as the major challenges for both, so franchise and independents? So differing stock profiles and structural challenges affecting newer vehicles, particularly those aged 3 to 5 years. Do you want to start with that one?
I'd say, so one of the biggest things that I guess franchises, and when we speak to franchises, because we see there is a big difference in not just the amount of leads that come from our platforms, but generally the conversion. And whatever franchises can do to actually drill down the importance of, buying approved used, that side of things, so all the extra benefits and bells and whistles you get, because generally we know the price tag is slightly higher if you compare like for like, so it's really explaining to the consumer the difference in service all round and the benefits of buying from you personally.
Okay. Kevin?
It's the usual double-edged sword, isn't it? Where you've got a problem, you've also got opportunity. I'd like to sort of recognise some of the work that the finance houses, obviously they've been in the wars this year, but they're getting really, really innovative in certain ways, and it's up to sort of us, you, as everybody, as retailers, to really get on board with absolutely everything that they're doing. So there's talk of 5-year PCPs in the not too far distant future, just using that as a kind of an example, which comes with sort of strengths and weaknesses, but you're talking about people now going up to 120,000 miles at the end of a PCP agreement. You're talking about people going up to sort of 100,000 miles for sort of EV stock, which would have been unheard of sort of previously. So it's risk versus reward, isn't it? In terms of just trying to make sure that you're at the forefront of everything. I know if you line up 10 businesses, they're probably going to be doing 7 of the same things altogether. As I say, it's a difference. Our franchise cousins they've got the opportunity to basically make money out the back end of the car that we don't have them. So we've just got to be obsessive about front end profit as long as it's the right one.
I think we're away from that COVID market where the cost of change, key for key, the same or less. That's now a thing of the past. So for most customers driving around today in a 3 to 5 year old vehicle that we desperately want for our stock, the cost of change difference is going to be significant. So actually our job is not with the customers, it's with our own staff. We've got to change the mindset going into those conversations and get them kind of confident that this cost difference is going to play out how it should. The language we use in the industry, is on that subject is pretty cold. Like we talk about renewals. I think about renewing my gas, But you look at technology in cars today and the advancements, we now talk about upgrades. So we go into that conversation around it's time you're eligible to upgrade your car to the next new version or extra range or faster charging or whatever that might be. So that then instills that value story for the sales exec before they pick the phone up to have those conversations to try and generate those part exchanges through that way.
Yeah, we're seeing similar. The finance companies have got a great appetite. We've got lots of new product offerings, as you said, 60 months PCP, higher mileage financing. So that's helping us in the independent space.
Sorry, can I just jump in? Yeah. Stuart, so do you see quite a big success rate in using that sort of terminology and looking at upgrading? Because obviously everybody's used to it with phones and all the other contracts. Are you starting to see it actually shift?
It's a recent initiative, to be fair, but you've got to have it at every touch point. So in the communications you send, the conversations you have, everybody's got to be talking that same language. But like I say, it's an early initiative, but early indications are it's being better received. We did a bit of a test with an SMS campaign, and we had a really strong take-up. So we had a lot of appointments made off the back of it. But I think that connotation in your head as a customer, that upgrade language, almost suggests, without saying it, this is probably going to cost a bit more than I'm paying. Yeah. So you're starting off on the right foot, rather than getting to the point where you then say, oh, it's 150 quid more than you pay today, and everybody falls out. So it's like...
But it must sort of reinforce that using that language, that it's sort of commonplace and it's sort of, it's something that they've probably not thought about before, but bring that buying decision a year early.
Like you said, people get bored, don't they? They buy a car and on a 4-year deal, and 18 months in, they want another one. So you've got to excite them to want to change it.
Good question. I haven't forgotten you. Are there any questions? We're running close to time. Please put your hand up if you have. Don't let me monopolise the conversation. Farhad, you're an entrepreneur. You won an award. Yeah. What does it mean? Where does entrepreneurship come into the business of used car?
Just again, we've got agility within our business. We can make decisions very, very quickly. Any market changes, we can adapt and evolve to it very, very fast. So yeah, I think that's our our biggest one, having that agility to make those decisions, react to them. There's no lag time in doing so.
For everyone, this question, how disruptive has it been to be able to service and repair EVs in terms of your workshop and prep and so on? Has it been a big cost outlay, and are charging points on forecourts just a given? You just have to do it.
Again, it's from my perspective, it's one of them things, and technicians are not necessarily monetary led in the same way that a sales team would be. You know, if you invest in them, they tend to sort of stick. But it has been a period where if you train up really high quality EV technicians who can work on the high voltage packs and the like, you are at massive risk of poaching or borrowing. And obviously we saw a period last year where it was kind of a technician's Dutch auction. You know, so we're investing as hard as we can. Yeah. And we see 2025 as the tipping point now, where, you know, we've probably got 220-ish EVs within group at the moment, and we would have had less than half of that 12 months ago. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Again, it's looking at that talent pool and looking across the globe for that talent pool. So we've brought a lot of technicians from different countries, EV specialists. So again, yeah, we're adapting to that new world of EVs and the staff that comes with it.
Well, we're lucky that we get a lot of support and technology from the manufacturers who are providing us with the vehicles. There's no question, though, that some time away, but it's going to reshape the whole after-sales side of our business, the EV servicing. You know, we're going to lose a lot of revenue streams. Oil, it's going to be a big one, which is a very profitable part of the business. So, and what we see today as an upsell opportunity, like a tyre or brake or a wiper blade, that's going to become all we've got left with some of these vehicles. So we've got to get better and more fine-tuned at that, normalise that, so when that time comes, we can transition into that new way of operating.
Yeah, sure. Any more questions? Right. Okay. What's the, it's got potentially a tricky one, what's the right balance between profitability and, I've got purpose here, but essentially putting the customer relationship first? Can it genuinely deliver strong long-term performance? Is it a difficult balance to always treat the customers as they would expect and drive that profitability?
I don't think they're opposites, are they? I think purpose is, that's why we're here, you know, to make it easy to do business, keep people on the road. If you do that well, profit comes with it. Yep. So I don't think they're two different things, but I think the purpose is the first thing, and being focused on the customer is the real key to it.
Yeah, I think the customer's the heart of everything that you do. If you deliver exceptional customer service, your reviews and your performance of your business, they both go hand in hand. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's non-negotiable.
The only thing I'd say as a caveat to that slightly is it's a circular argument. You can't invest until you sell more, and when you sell more, your customer service invariably dips. You know, we're introducing like a set of family values, core values, but from the family. You know, because I do think sometimes, you know, you can get a bit too giddy and a bit carried away in terms of trying to chase, and it's trying to find that happy medium. But yeah, the customer service aspect has been one of our big challenges this year because we're growing. And I say the same thing again, it's we having come from a PLC environment, you've just got kind of money within reason to burn to try certain things out. When you're at a slightly slower level, I mean, we're a big business, but you can't take an inherent risk until you've actually kind of proven the route. So I think, yeah, they're inextricably linked, but you've got to sell to invest.
So, well, my take on it is I think you don't get a choice, really, in this day and age. I think 10 years ago, customer-centric wasn't a phrase that was bandied around. I went to Amazon first time I'd heard it, and they've basically, well, we've probably all heard of Amazon, and that's because their core values and every decision they make, they start with the customer and then evolve from there. And I think it's kind of expected in this day and age. And just as an anecdote, I went to McDonald's this morning, went through a drive-through, and literally pulled in, gave my code because I'd ordered on the app, and as soon as she got my code, she said, "Oh, morning, Lee," which I've never experienced before, but I went through that whole drive-through with a smile on my face, and they could have done whatever they wanted to my food. I'd have still been really impressed, but I guess that's the importance of customer service.
A quick fire one to end this session, a bit cheeky potentially, but what's the best decision you've made this year for the business? Stuart?
As I become I'm sorry.
The year's not over yet.
Yeah. Probably best decision we've made, I wouldn't say it's in the last year, is probably the QR coding. It's probably more like 2 years than one. But the QR coding has basically made our pricing so dexterous that the valuers can be at home now, and effectively they're changing prices and just tracking the market. At these Uber flats, you've got to educate the customer, because obviously some people still want a stock list and some people haven't got a smartphone. But from our perspective, literally, if the market is moving, we can follow the market without seeing loads of salespeople wandering around with 6s and 9s.
Amazing.
I think a number of things. We developed a new website with EV calculators on there. We've gone live with the EV certification on all our EV vehicles. And yeah, I think a number of things, data embracement on pricing strategies. So yeah, a number of things. But I think in the car supermarket world, you've got to be evolving on a daily basis and looking at new things coming out. We've embraced some AI technology for after hours as well. So yeah, it's a constant thing. I wouldn't say it's one great thing. It's a number of little things that add up.
Brilliant.
And I've still got 6 weeks. So I can make a great decision.
I think investing in our people, just continuing to invest in the people who work with us and to deliver that experience as best we can, and sign up to where we want to go, and come on that journey with us. So support them as best we can with that investment.
Brilliant. Excellent final word. Thank you very much, everybody, for your attention, and please show our appreciation to our panel.
Thank you.
Thanks.